Today, Mike Lindell is raided by the FBI. Igor Danchenko was a paid FBI informant, and the new trailer for The Little Mermaid flops on YouTube. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and we got a good show for you today. It is Hump Day, of course. So we have Jason Buttrell, who is, of course, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program and reader of all things that nobody else wants to read because they're entirely too long. And that's how we know Jason here.
That's correct. And I am wearing a shirt today from shop.blazemedia.com. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe after what happened to Lindell, they might be coming for me next because of it. I'm openly admitting this, so it's getting scary.
Yeah, it's going to be scary out there for you. I can't wait to get into that story as well. So also joined by Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray Unleashed, which you can find on not shop.blazemedia.com, but just...
This shirt, no, probably not.
All right, so we got a lot in store for you, but first we want to thank Healthy Cell. Today's episode is brought to you by Healthy Cell. They've got a bunch of really great supplements to help with sleep, focus, a general multivitamin. They are amazing. They taste delicious. My family loves them, and they're gel instead of the pill, so you know you are getting the full absorption of the nutrients promised. You can go to healthycell.com/news. Use code NEWS for 20% off of your order over at healthycell.com/news. So yesterday, Mike Lindell revealed that his phone had been seized by the FBI. He and a friend had this is of course, Mike Lindell was stopped at a Hardee's drive-thru. I'm like, that just is so representative of Mike Lindell. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like, yeah, he was at a Hardee's drive-thru. That makes a lot of sense. On the way home from a fishing trip in Minnesota, and a car came and parked perpendicular to them, blocking them in a drive-thru, and then another car came, and he's like, well, these are either the bad guys or the FBI, and it turns out that that's actually one and the same, as we're learning as the years go by. But they showed him their badges, began asking him questions, and apparently, upon finally today, we got the search warrant. And the search warrant for the phone's seizure reveals that it was taken over an identity theft charge and the damage of a protected computer investigation. So the warrant reads, the physical cellular telephone assigned call number, Lindell cell phone they're calling it, and all records and information on the Lindell cell phone that constitutes fruits, evidence, or instrumentalities of identity theft, as well as intentional damage to a protected computer and or conspiracy to commit identity theft and or to cause intentional damage to a protected computer. And then, of course, other items to be seized relating to Dominion. So it says all records and information relating to damage to any Dominion computerized voter system, including any impairment to or attempt to impair the integrity or availability of data, a program, a system, or information, and then any sort of USB flash drives, anything related to Dominion computerized voting systems. It's getting scary out there, you guys. There's a lot of people being, having their information seized by the FBI, seemingly in what I think a previous president of the United States would call, in fact, a witch hunt.
That's so convoluted there. So are they accusing Mike Lindell of possible identity fraud? Or are they accusing him of doing something with the Dominion voting machine? Or all of the above?
It sounds like all of the above.
Or is it just a bunch of darts and they're throwing it at the wall and hoping that one of them will stick? Possibly that. I mean, this is the FBI and DOJ's playbook, going back to, the Russia hoax, has always just been about throwing something out there and giving the appearance of guilt. Yeah. So, let's get something, the scariest thing possible we could think of, or the freakiest, nuclear codes at Mar-a-Lago, and just give the appearance of guilt. And as we've all seen, the way the media runs with it is they're like, oh, like the BYU
the racial
thing. Story, yeah. Just like that. Let's just throw something out there. The media will grab it immediately. They won't look into it. They won't investigate. And that's just what the people will believe. Now that's been disproven as a hoax. But I bet you 90% of the people that first saw it don't even know that it's a hoax.
Right.
They don't.
That's generally how it happens.
And 90% of the people that just hate Donald Trump still think that he colluded with Russia, even though that has been proven as a hoax. So very interesting that, 2 months before an election, They've had 2 years to do all this. Like, you're telling me now you're doing these very public raids, these very public, let's corner them at a Hardee's, which, by the way, who goes to Hardee's anymore? I thought it was Carl's Jr. But anyway.
I know, that's what I was like,
right?
Hardee's?
Yeah, like, where is it? Only in the north it's called Hardee's, and down here it's called, I don't know. But anyway, it seems very public to give just the appearance of the people that, just will look at this and just read it in the newspaper or see it on social media. There will be no follow-up, but it doesn't matter because the damage has been done.
Right.
And they must have been following him. They must have been tracking him wherever he went. And it's just, these are bogus charges. Come on. They're arresting him, or they didn't arrest him, but they're taking his phone because he continues to say that the election was fraudulent. And it's pissing them off. And they can't have it. And so they take his phone and I trump up some kind of charge. It's ludicrous for the FBI to be doing this.
It's also, they're doing it all at the same time, and it is, we mentioned earlier, it's getting scary out there because it's not just Mike Lindell, right? It's not just people who are directly associated with President Trump. It's Lisa Gallagher, who we found out on Tucker Carlson the other night. This is just a mother, a wife in a New Jersey suburb who apparently shared with Tucker, we'll play it in a minute, that FBI agents showed up at her door the morning after Joe Biden's, MAGA extremists are a threat to the democracy of our country speech. And they said that they received an anonymous tip that she was at the January 6th Capitol that day, and she was not. Watch.
I just want to be clear that you have not committed a crime of any kind. I don't think you've ever been accused of a crime. You weren't even at the Capitol on January 6th. I don't think you're even in Washington. Tell us how you felt when Joe Biden's FBI showed up with guns at your home the morning after his speech.
I was terrified, and I'll be honest with you, when my daughter woke me up telling me there were 3 armed FBI officers at my door, I thought she was joking. So I went outside and I said, "Gentlemen, you're scaring me." And they proceeded to tell me that they were given an anonymous tip that I was at the Capitol on January 6th.
Even though, of course, as we said, they knew you weren't because they had facial recognition software and there's no evidence, and it's almost 2 years ago. Do you know who this anonymous tip, this snitch who turned you into federal law enforcement for supporting Trump on Facebook might be?
No, I know nothing.
I don't feel like it's any sort of exaggeration to say they literally are coming for all of us at this point.
They literally are coming for us.
It sounds like hyperbole.
Yeah, if you voted for Trump, or if you support Trump, or you just didn't vote for Joe Biden, yeah, they're coming for you.
What the FBI probably did there.
Welcome to America.
Welcome to America. What they probably did there was they took that anonymous tip and then they did their own background research. And they were like, does this person fit the profile? And just like you said, Pat, voted for Donald Trump, check.
Yeah.
I don't know, donated to so-and-so, that's a Republican, check, like all this stuff. I don't know, has an American flag in their profile on Twitter, check. I don't know. But this is crazy, and this reminds me of that ATF visit from, remember that guy's house, because he bought a few guns, so the ATF showed up. And not to criticize these people too much, because most of us just do not know our rights. We just don't know them. If something like that happens, don't even open the door. Talk to them through the door. This is crazy. Yeah. Like, the FBI showing up to someone's house in an anonymous tip?
Incredible.
No, incredible. Don't even open the door. Talk to them through the door. Be polite, but don't give them an inch on any of this. We have to start showing them that we do know our rights.
I wouldn't buy that they're from the FBI.
Right, because that seems ludicrous.
It does. It does. And then if I find out they are, show me your warrant.
Exactly.
Right.
Show me your stinking warrant, because that sounds like some neighbor who hates Trump, knows that she's a Trump supporter, and just called the FBI.
I mean, the sheer arrogance of this entire, department, of the entire bureau, to just be like, yeah, we're so powerful, we can just kind of do whatever we want, and we don't really need to have any of the backup that we're supposed to legally have. Doesn't really matter, because who's going to stop us? We're the FBI. I mean, it really feels like that is the place we're at.
I feel like I might have said this on your show before, Sarah, but I mean, one of the big lies about the FBI is that somehow they changed from how they operate from the J. Edgar Hoover times until now. I mean, there's been scandal after scandal after scandal. I mean, under J. Edgar Hoover, I mean, illegal wiretaps, illegal burglaries, using information to blackmail others, forcing people that don't believe what they believe politically into doing what they believe. I mean, look at everything happening now. How has anything changed? It's completely the same. I'm not criticizing the rank and file FBI agents. I'm criticizing what structurally it is at the very, very top. I just do not think it's changed. I don't think we even need an FBI. We have the Texas Rangers. They do the same exact job. They handle other cases that sheriff's departments, police departments can't handle. Why do we need an FBI? I think the states can handle that themselves.
So to add to that point, it was just found out, this was been recently unsealed just this week, Durham court filing, unsealed by a Virginia federal court yesterday, revealed that the FBI made Igor Danchenko a confidential human source, providing him and the FBI's use of him national security cover in March 2017 and terminated that designation in October of 2020. This was after they had investigated him for being a Russian spy, and after discovering Danchenko's identity as Christopher Steele's source for the Steele dossier. You guys remember, this was the P-tapes, right? The Steele dossier. Rather than investigate whether he had been feeding Steele Russian disinformation, the FBI paid him. He became on their payroll. They paid him as a human source. Danchenko is also the originator of the false claim that Donald Trump told prostitutes to pee on the beds.
Jeez.
I can't even, unpacking this in my brain has broken it today.
Oh, it's worse. So
please.
Danchenko, Igor Danchenko, he worked at the Brookings Institution. I'll get back to that in a second. Sorry if I filibuster this, but this is an insane story.
This is another farm bill.
Yeah, this is another farm bill. But just keep that in your mind. He used to work at the Brookings Institution. There's a lot of shady stuff going on over there. Well, I want to say around 2009 or 2010, can't remember exactly, some of his co-workers over there, they were like, hey, they went to the FBI. They were like, hey, this guy is asking us if we'd ever be willing to sell classified information because we might get into the Obama administration after we leave Brookings. He's asking us if we'd be willing to do that. So they're like, what the heck? So the FBI opens a full-time investigation into Danchenko because they suspect he might be a Russian asset. Look all this up. This is real. They suspect he might, and then they look into it further, the FBI does. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. He has connections with the Russian embassy. Oh, wait a minute. He has connections with actual Russian spies in the United States. Now, the FBI completely loses track of Danchenko. They don't know where he's at. They suspect he left the country, but he didn't, so they close the investigation. So what do they do later? They hire him as a confidential informant, the guy they had an open investigation on that never closed. They just couldn't do it anymore because they thought he left the country.
Incredible.
And start paying him. It's the most insane thing. Now, I'm almost done. Wow. Back to the Brookings Institution. Something crazy going on there. Guess who his mentor was at Brookings? Any wild guess?
No.
Fiona Hill, the chick that was one of the witnesses in the impeachment trial. The one that looks like Severus Snape. That one, coincidentally. That's his mentor. All of this is together, and multiple other people with Fiona Hill at Brookings and this Danchenko guy. They were all buddies or at least acquaintances of Christopher Steele. It's so ridiculous. All the connections, it's not being looked into. And I guarantee you, the only reason now that Danchenko's getting thrown under the bus is because the FBI is going into patsy mode. And we knew this. The FBI can't go down. The guys at the top within the FBI and DOJ, they can't go down. So who do we blame? Danchenko, because his name is Igor and it sounds funny. Well, we'll just put it all into him so that we can bow out of this and be free. It's insane.
So you don't believe he was a Russian asset?
Oh, I think he might have. He could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but he is just as at fault or complicit as the people that were handling him.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So I wanted to throw up a couple tweets here, just showing this is Hans. Don't know how to say his last name at all, but he's showing that the FBI signed this guy up as a paid confidential human source, and then of course points out that they did this after he had disavowed the dossier by admitting it was bar talk and gossip. What value would it have been to sign him up and pay him as a confidential human source? The only reason they did it was to cover up their own, up their own malfeasance.
Exactly.
It's the only reason.
Yep.
So it's like, it's getting scary out there, guys. Who knows when the FBI is going to show up at my door, Jason's door, Pat's door. I don't know. But I'm not going down without a fight. And also, I am not suicidal. So I'd just like to point that out. We've got a lot more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Moink. So I don't know if you guys realize this, like 60% of United States pork production comes from one company. It's owned by the Chinese, which is already great. But they also give their hogs something called ractopamine, which is banned in 160 countries, including China. But you're going to find it in your grocery aisle every day. You got to try Moink. They deliver grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, wild-caught Alaskan salmon. It's all delicious. It is delivered directly to your door. You can choose which meats you want in your box, and you can cancel anytime, but you're not going to, because Moink meat is the best that you will ever taste. My family loves it. My son is obsessed with their bacon. I know I say this all the time, but he's constantly asking me for it. And he's 10 and he's growing too much. And I'm like, I'm all out of bacon, son. And now you've bankrupted me because you love Moink bacon so much. You can keep American farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/news. You will get a free filet mignon in every order for a year. Do not sleep on this deal. It is moinkbox.com/news. Yesterday, West Virginia passed a law that bans abortions except for cases where the embryo or fetus is non-viable, the pregnancy is ectopic, a medical emergency exists, or within 8 weeks of a pregnancy caused by sexual assault or incest for an adult, or 14 weeks for a minor. It also includes criminal penalties for anyone who performs an abortion without a medical license or at an unapproved location. So I want to get your thoughts on this, gentlemen. But I'd like to pair this story with what is going on federally and get your take on that as well, because that's an interesting one. Lindsey Graham yesterday, in his very Lindsey Graham way, I wish we had a clip of it, introduced legislation that would ban abortions nationwide after 15 weeks of pregnancy. They're calling it the Protecting Pain-Capable Unborn Children from Late-Term Abortions Act, which is, man, the GOP is really bad at messaging, but like that is way too long. You gotta condense these names, gentlemen. The bill includes exceptions for instances where the life of the mother is at risk or when the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest, and would leave more restrictive state laws untouched. And Mitch McConnell declined to commit to bringing the bill to the floor for a vote if Republicans do win control of the Senate for the next Congress, saying, I think most of the members in my conference prefer that this be dealt with at the state level. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
Okay, so the first one was it? What was the?
This is West Virginia.
West Virginia,
and it bans abortion except for all of those cases that I mentioned. So non-viable fetus, ectopic pregnancy, all of the things that you would expect.
Okay,
but just bans it totally.
So I don't know how everyone at the table agrees, but I think this is their entire problem: is how can you make a bill or a law that basically says humans are humans, no matter if they're out of the mother's body or not, but then make exceptions for rape or incest. I do not agree with that at all. I'm not willing to compromise that at all. My one line on that is life, and it starts at conception and it goes towards you're on your deathbed at 99 years old. That's how it is. It's sacred at all stages of life. So if you're willing to stand. If you're not, don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're willing to stand for life. I think that's a real issue that the Republican Party has. Like, what exactly do you believe in here? That's not to say be heartless. You know, but by all means, I'm sure there's organizations that would be willing to work with the government to help care for babies that are victims of rape or incest, where the mother does not want to keep the baby, does not want to raise the baby. Let's look into that. Let's have those conversations. But in my mind, that's where I stand.
Both a mother's life endangerment over a fetus and pregnancy from rape are extremely rare.
Yes.
It's like less than 1% of the time.
Yep.
But I am definitely in favor of making the exception for the mother's life endangerment. It almost never happens.
Right.
But if it does, I'm going to choose my wife, who is the mother of my other children.
Yeah.
You know, and keep her. So there is that. But if you have to choose one life, you know, it's going to be the one I already know. As far as rape and incest, that's always been a tough one for me because the pregnancy's been forced on the woman, but life is life, like Jason just said, and I have to go with the fetus in that particular instance, and that does hurt us though. They use that against us. They beat us with that stick all the time.
Yeah.
If there was ever a place where we said, okay, we'll give you rape and incest and mother's life endangerment, we win this so easily, nationwide, it wouldn't even be close. But because, life is life and we want to protect the baby at all cost, the left has a battering ram that they use against us.
So what do you think about because we just spent feels like a very long time since the Supreme Court just released their, obviously the overturning of Roe versus Wade, but the conversation then was this needs to be a states' rights issue. This should go to the state level. And now we have Republicans arguing to federalize it. What are your thoughts on that? Is that hypocritical?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And my first temptation is to say it, hey, I'll take the win. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think it goes far enough, but I'll take it. But
because that's why it makes me uncomfortable, because I'm like, didn't we just say this was a states' rights thing and that should be where it is?
And if you open the door to, it seems kind of ridiculous because in my mind, abortion is murder and it's already against the law. It's a nationwide law. Murder is against the law.
Right.
So this seems like an obvious given, but I'm not for opening the gateway to where we're going to have these national laws that keep encroaching more and more and more on every single issue.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I can be even though I love the fact that if this went through the past 15 weeks,
more babies would be born.
More babies would be born.
Rather than be killed, and that would be great.
But I think that I think the best way to handle this is the state solution at the moment.
Yeah.
I think so too. We just made a big deal out of the fact that Roe v. Wade's overturned, so that just defederalizes abortion. It goes to the states now, and states decide, and that's what we've always wanted. And so this is a little bit nonsensical that they're doing it this way when we just said, yes, it should be a states' rights issue.
Yeah.
And then they negate that. But there's no end to the Republican Party's stupidity. So.
Well, right. I also have issue with if you're going to propose something like this, why 15 weeks?
Yeah.
You're past the first trimester at that point, right? Why 15 weeks? That's very generous of you to give to the left. They're not going to take it. So then you're just left with your pants down, I guess. We tried to. No, it just feels like political posturing because Lindsey Graham thinks that he can get a W by saying, well, I tried to help ban abortion federally and they just wouldn't do it. Because otherwise, why do you pick 15 weeks? If it's a life and it's a life, you're fine with it, first trimester, into the second trimester, still having abortion? It just, I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't make sense to me.
That's Lindsey Graham.
I was going to say, and I don't trust Lindsey Graham. So I want to throw one more in here. Yesterday, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a new abortion website for residents and out-of-state women to provide more information about abortion clinics in an attempt to make the state increasingly abortion-friendly, because that's a thing now. Watch.
California just launched a brand new resource, a resource for those seeking reproductive care, whether you live here or not. Abortion.ca.gov is now online. The site features information on how, where, and when to access abortion and reproductive health in California. It includes information on your right to an abortion and information if you're traveling to California from another state that has restricted your reproductive care. The site does not track you or your personal information. Abortion remains legal and protected in California. We have your back. So I hope you visit abortion.ca.gov to learn more about your freedom to choose in California.
Incredible.
Also, stop saying reproductive health. Reproductive health care, reproductive health. This has nothing to do with, actually reproductive health care is that when you actually reproduce by having the child, not killing it. But what do words mean? All right, quick thoughts, guys.
I hate to, suppose what God the Father will replay for you when you stand outside the gates. But this right here,
Oh, yeah.
when the gates are slammed,
Yeah.
where you're saying, just go to abortion.ca.gov and just get all the abortions you want. I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to use the E word, but that just, all I could see was the words evil, tattooed across that man's forehead on that. That's insane.
It's a word that's applicable here.
Yeah.
That is evil. Yeah. That, replace reproductive health care with murdering babies. We just want to make murdering babies a lot easier for you.
We don't live here.
We don't track you. You have as many as you want. It's fine.
And as if anyone doesn't know, you can do whatever that. You can go to California and go to 7-Eleven probably and find an abortion doctor willing to do it right there.
Probably.
It's not hard to find.
Or as many, as you could find drug dealers and drugs and human feces on the streets of California. All right, we got much more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, ClickUp. So imagine having one extra day every week, more time to cook healthy meals, work on, I don't know, some project that you're doing, or maybe you're like me and you just want to binge some good reality TV to shut your brain off. It is now all possible with ClickUp. This is the productivity platform that will save you one day a week on work. They guarantee this. This is the one tool to house all of your tasks, projects, goals, spreadsheets, all of it. And it's built for teams from 1 to 1,000 plus. It is packed with features and customization options that no other productivity tool has, so you can work the way you work best. So those of you who are in product management, engineering, HR, marketing, they have the solution for you. You can use the code Y to get 15% off ClickUp's massive unlimited plan for a year, so you can start reclaiming your time for under $5 a month. You got to go check it out. It is clickup.com. Use code Y. The Idaho Freedom Foundation has revealed, Idaho, okay? I just want to make sure that I'm saying this very clearly. I'm enunciating. Idaho is teaching elementary school students porn literacy, which of course means that they are encouraging students to look at porn without shame. This porn literacy curriculum is endorsed by none other than Planned Parenthood. Yes, I'm sure you're very shocked to hear that. And I'm gonna have to read some of this for some of the podcast listeners, but let's play this clip.
Critical thinking skills are the largest component of porn literacy. It's the ability for young people to analyze and ask questions about the media that they're viewing. Porn is meant to sexually excite a viewer and create fantasy, right? So let's go ahead and start with elementary age youth. And I know some people...
It said trainers believe third grade students benefit from porn.
Third grade?
Mm-hmm. Third grade students benefit from porn. Activities include students watching cartoon porn. Idaho. Did I mention Idaho?
Oh,
Wow.
That's so big. I never knew it could be so huge.
That's a cartoon character.
Jane, what are you looking at?
Idaho's government links students directly to abortion resources as well. So if you think that it couldn't happen where you live because you feel like you're nice and strong and red, you would be sorely mistaken. Idaho. Did I mention Idaho? I just want to make sure I mentioned that.
I think it said this message approved by the Prince of Darkness. I think it said at the end of that. Pretty sure I saw that.
Yeah. So they've got these porn literacy materials for use in the classroom. This is elementary all the way to high school from a nonprofit group called ETR. It is Education, Training, and Research. And pornography consumption is a required topic for ETR in sex education. Though, of course, this same organization admits the evidence is largely unclear whether sexually explicit media in use influences future sexual health among adolescents. So that's really good.
When did science completely change on porn in general? So even if you're an adult, they have come out with studies and said that what porn does is
How harmful it is.
How harmful it is.
Yes.
Not to mention destroying intimacy, but makes people violent. It increases the the opportunity for rape. Those kinds of things. That's in adults. So now you're talking about growing your children up in that environment as early as third grade. Now, what the hell does that do to you by the time you're an adult?
Well, and studies have shown it to be more addictive than heroin.
Yeah.
It's insane. Sometimes when I hear stories like this, I think, how much worse could Sodom and Gomorrah have been
No kidding.
than where we are right now? They are after our children, and they're relentless in going after our children and trying to sexualize them and taking away their childhoods. And just trying to fill their heads with filth. Why would you do this? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, I've gone back and forth in my head on why would they be doing this. And at first, I mean, if you look at it, look, the only thing, so from where I'm standing, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that think as I think, what is the last thing, I've heard Glenn say this on the radio several times, is if they can't find the extremists to go after, they're going to make the extremists. What is the last thing, what is your last line? Like, okay, you can do what you want to do to me, you can say what you want to do to me.
Don't touch my kids.
But don't touch my kids. I mean.
That's where we've always been, and yet that onslaught is ongoing now.
It's just nonstop.
And you're the extremist for not wanting them to go after your kids, right? I want to throw in one more story as we're talking about how bad it's gotten and how they are out to get your children. This is it. Listen, Project Veritas, we played, last week? We played the undercover videos of all of these teachers, headmasters, saying that they are trying to indoctrinate your children into all of these ideologies. So they quite literally are going after your kids. But the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, this is the education arm of the state government in Wisconsin, promotes transgender video resources and suggested reading explicitly aimed at preschoolers. This is according to a resource titled Resources for Gender Expansive Preschoolers. So it has resources for 3 to 5-year-olds, including videos that talk about transgender ideology. I want to play for you this video. It's how two moms took on trolls to support an LGBTQ kid, with a mom who was transitioning her daughter into a boy and faced backlash from trolls. And that was just really sad for her. Watch.
My daughter was going to transition from being a boy to a girl in first grade. And one of the plans that we had set up with the school psychologist at the time was to read the book I Am Jazz to her class and to the other kids on the same floor as her in school. It's written from the perspective of a child just like our daughter, and in very simple terms explains what exactly is going on. In the letter, they said, if you would like your child to opt out of this lesson, please just let us know. Obviously, it backfired. A parent in the Mount Horeb School District that received that letter had contacted this group.
The Liberty Council sent this letter threatening to sue teachers in the school district, and the school district ended up canceling the reading.
Oh, but it's okay because, well, the video does go on to explain that the mom held the book reading anyway, and hundreds of parents showed up with their children. So good news abounds, guys.
Oh, man.
Jason looks like he's about to explode.
I don't know how much more I can take of this show today, sir. I mean,
I'm just here to get your blood pressure up.
First off, this woman, I mean, back in my day, way back in the day, if you admitted you were a part of child abuse, you would get thrown in jail.
That's what I'm like, why is this not a crime?
Why was this not investigated more? Like, your first grader decided on her own that she was had gender dysphoria, even though there's no idea she knows what either word means. She just knows that she is, and she needs to go get an operation, which she doesn't even know what that is. She has no idea what any of these consequences are or what the words even mean. But the mother, she's trying to say this kid went to this conclusion all on its own. The mother wasn't pushing this, or directing this, or the other adults around this poor child.
It's BS.
Yeah.
It's total BS.
It's like the role of a parent is to be able to guide your child and explain to them truths, absolute truths, and what is right and what is wrong. And these parents are just completely abdicating their duty.
Yeah, it's going on everywhere. This is happening everywhere. In my daughter's 5th grade class, there's a person, one of the kids transitioning, and everybody's encouraging to.
5th grade.
The teachers, the school, the administrators, they're all encouraging that child who's 9 years old to transition. You don't know what you want when you're 9 years old?
No.
How is it possible that people can't understand that? And you're going to make a change like this? Unbelievable. Really very, very frightening. But we're the bad ones.
Right.
If we push back on it, we're the bad people.
I'm convinced that if I was the elementary school age now, that the society would have wanted me to transition into a boy, because I was a tomboy, right? Like, I climbed trees, I didn't like wearing dresses, and now you hear those stories, and those are the reasons that the parents point to go, well, she knew that she was a boy because she didn't want to wear dresses and she didn't want to wear girls' clothing. She didn't like pink, so we transitioned her and chopped off her breasts. It's like, I'm sorry, what? It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Crazy.
It's ludicrous. And
Yeah.
you really need to watch what happened in your kids' schools. Now, I'm going to say there's a generic school out there in a generic red state that when this person went to do online registration, had never seen this before in their life, saw that they had added 2 different sections to online registration. One was for some different kind of like sensitivity training, which this, very awesome person declined that.
Right.
And then there was another one that said, we want your permission that if your child wants to go by another name, you give that permission. This is in a deep red state, in a deep red part of that deep red state.
Yeah.
I mean,
It might be close to here. I don't know.
it could be. It could be close to here. I just know the person that denied all that stuff is very, very awesome and cool. Very masculine, manly guy.
Yeah.
Really?
We would say get your kids the hell out of public schools. But if you feel for whatever reason you can't, at the very least, be absolutely involved in everything that they are teaching, especially here in Texas. As we found out recently, Jakub Bujans did a whole video on it if you want to go watch it on his channel. All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
My granddaughter said, they've known this person.
The live-action trailer for The Little Mermaid has gotten 1.5 million dislikes on YouTube in just 2 days. Many Disney fans criticize the casting of Halle Bailey as Ariel, since they say she's African-American, and the cartoon Ariel is like very much white. So this is what the fans have said. They said also they don't like the movie's look. It doesn't look like it's underwater. And in 2019, the Washington Post cited white nostalgia as the reason why #NotMyAriel began trending on Twitter after Disney announced this particular casting. It is interesting because instead of, remaking something that they've already done, they could, if they wanted to, have like this black superhero or cartoon character or whatever, have the opportunity to create a whole new story, reinvent or invent a whole new story instead of just erasing and rewriting already white characters. I don't know. It just feels like a little bit like racism.
Yeah, well, it's insulting for all races involved.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insulting. So basically what you're saying is you're not good enough to have your own original story. A black, mermaid, perfectly fine. I would go to watch that. I would take my kids to watch that.
And you wouldn't think twice, right?
And you wouldn't think twice about it.
Right.
But because you're I'm sure Eric July would have a ton to say here.
I was just thinking he'd be a great person
he
to
always
talk
talks
to.
about the tokenization of some of these characters and how they're just inserting someone in, replacing them. It's supposed to be the same character, or replacing them with a different race. It's insulting. And it is. And have you guys seen the new Lord of the Rings at all?
Yeah.
I don't. A lot of people are criticizing like the CGI and all that stuff. I don't. Whatever. I'm not a big stickler on any of that. But I did write a review on it, and I said, well, it's just not Tolkien. I thought it was like, I love fantasy, I love sci-fi, all that stuff, and I would watch this if it was not named Lord of the Rings. I would watch it if it wasn't, put off as a Tolkien story. It'd be perfectly fine. I'd have no issues with it. No issues at all. But because we know what you're doing.
Right.
You're doing this.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
It's the agenda-driven.
Right. In everything.
Yeah. And it's ludicrous. Think of it if it was the opposite. What if you took a black character and made them white? Oh, all hell would break loose. Because
Now Chef, starring Pat Gray.
It won't happen because it's not. It doesn't fit the agenda. It doesn't fit them trying to. And I think a lot of this is just poking conservatives. And hey, see what you think of this. They just have to change everything. They're not happy until they do.
It has been, at least I think, a little bit encouraging to see, Jason, you mentioned Eric July earlier, to see Eric July's success in his, Eric July, I'm sure those of you who are watching know who he is, but he's a big comic book nerd. And he wouldn't mind me using that term, nerd, because he really is a big comic book nerd. And he was just getting so angry about all of these comic book, companies who are coming up with they're completely rewriting certain characters. They're making them gay. They're making, we saw that one, what was it, Spider-Girl, who's in a wheelchair, and she is bizarre. And so he's like, you know what? I'm tired of them just completely bastardizing these characters. They shouldn't be doing it, and they're all doing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and create my own company, my own, he calls it Ripaverse. And we're not going to do that crap. And, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to do something completely different. And he has had so much success in that. He raised, over $3 million in a very short amount of time, that it really makes you think. And with stories like this, it really makes you think that people are just so tired of all of the identity politics and they have to check off the boxes and make sure that, they're inclusive. And so I'm hopeful, at least, that this will be, this is kind of a rising tide of people who are just sick and tired of it. Am I being too optimistic?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot. I think that people, just looking at Hollywood, I think less people are going to the movies now, with the occasion of random. But when is a really good movie come out where you're like, I have to go get buy a ticket and sit in the theater to watch that? Yeah. It used to be for me every week. Yeah. Almost. Now it's like never, because now they're basically what they're doing is they're taking old ideas or old movies. Yeah. They're just remaking them and making it go in line with whatever the politics of the time are. Or the social, atmosphere is at the time. So let's have, whatever. Let's have the Little Mermaid, but because the politics and the way that we see it from their lens, which is in, Californistan, is going in this direction, we'll correct all the wrongs and just change all the races. No, it's boring and it's insulting. Yeah.
And the one person who bucked that trend, Tom Cruise, turned out pretty well for him.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Highest grossing movie at the box office ever in North America. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. That is a great. But will Hollywood learn their lesson? Stay tuned to find out. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back.
Did you see that James Cameron is re-releasing Avatar?
Yes.
In this video posted by, of course, Libs of TikTok, a woman claims that she cannot lose weight because, of course, white people have caused her body to be genetically prepared for a famine. Watch.
If white people didn't come to the Indian subcontinent, then my ancestors would not go through 50 small, medium, large famines in a period of 200 years. And if that didn't happen, then this entire place and the people of this place would not adapt to survive on lower calories. We also wouldn't biologically be programmed to hold on to more fat, because my genes, they always think, okay, you're gonna die.
She caught us.
It's the McDonald's.
She caught us.
I love that.
I hate that she sees right through us like that. I feel so vulnerable now. Wow.
I love that's like that sounds like one of those when you're trying to invent a conspiracy theory and somehow it ends with Kevin Bacon did something. I don't know, somehow. I would also like to blame white people for me being bald. I'm just gonna do it. I don't have to I don't have to spend 20 minutes to rationalize it like that. I'm just going to do it because I can't grow hair anymore. So white people are going to
nothing means anything anymore. Science doesn't mean anything. Calorie deficit doesn't mean anything. Words don't mean anything. Nothing. But just blame everything on white people, and that you'll be fine in society, I think.
Yeah, and the lack of personal responsibility is just astounding right now, because nobody's responsible for anything bad that's happening in their life.
I would love to look at like a food log.
Yeah.
For like a 2-week food log of this woman to very quickly determine whether it is, of course, you evil, sneaky white people, or in fact the lack of proper nutrition and exercise.
Yeah.
But what do I know?
Nothing.
I'm just a dumb TV host. Yeah. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Of course, Jason Buttrill and Pat Gray. Make sure that you subscribe and listen to Pat Gray everywhere you get your podcasts, and we will see you guys tomorrow.